Special meeting of the Personnel and Animal Welfare Committee to order. Myself and Mr. Price present. We have a quorum, and I'm going to ask that we take item 2 and 3 on consent. If there is no objection.
No objection.
Hearing none, we approve the CAO's recommendations and draft ordinance for both item 2 and 3. And now item 1.
Good morning, committee members. John White, City Clerk's Office. Item 1 is a communication from the mayor relative to the reappointment of Ms. Elisa Finston to the Board of Animal Services Commissioners for the term ending June 30, 2024.
Good morning and welcome.
Thank you. Good morning.
So what do you hope to accomplish in the next 4 years with your reappointment?
Well, first of all, I want to say thank you for the original appointment. It's been an honor to serve, and I'm looking forward to being reappointed. I think coming from my background, having worked in the mayor's office and for the city, I use the lens of wanting to make sure that the trains run on time. So wanting to make sure that the department has, the resources to, run things so that that we're serving the public. So I took an interest, obviously, in the 311 system and how the department was handling responses and phone calls. Very interested in how the volunteer program is working, because I know the department can't do everything by themselves. And I think the volunteers are what makes the shelters run even more efficiently than they can be because of their support. So things like that. I try to add my voice when there is a voice that is needed.
And we appreciate you having been there for this term. What do you think are your and the commission's biggest accomplishments while you've been there?
I know that the commission is working and the department is working really, really hard to make sure that there are vouchers for low-income, neighborhoods across the districts to make sure that people can get their animals spayed and neutered, and so that the shelters are not overcrowded as they often are, and that they're still continuing to work towards no kill. And we just went through a WOOFStat report yesterday, and I know that the commission does hold the department accountable for their numbers.
Okay, Mr. Price.
Thank you again for your service. You referenced 311, which is kind of under your purview. How can we make it more effective? We really encourage people to use it, but a lot of people don't use it, especially people who need to be using it don't use it. How can we increase usage? How can we increase transparency? People should, have some assurance that when they call in, it's going to get a result. I mean, I have lots of people who say they get good results. I have a lot of folks who say they get no results.
Sure.
And so the council office has to take responsibility, we do. The departments take responsibility. 311, though, has got to...
Well, that's a very good question. And as a resident of the city of Los Angeles, I think about when, if there's a problem in my own house or on my own street, would I call 311 or would I call the department that's responsible for that? I guess having knowledge of the city, most people who live in Los Angeles don't understand the differences between what sanitation does and what street services does and what other, departments do. I think one thing, and we talked about this, I think at our commission meetings early on in my tenure, was how do you get the operators of 311 trained on everything from A to Z in the, in the city? Because that's the source of the information too. I think about how if they get someone who's calling about a sanitation issue versus someone who's calling about an animal services issue, they have to know how to either answer the question or to, forward it to the appropriate department. So I think, if I remember correctly, one thing that we also talked about was how do you know that the message or the question got referred to the right department, and how did that, and sort of following something through the queue system, I think, is one of the most challenging things probably for the city.
And something that we need to be doing, I think, more of. So look forward to working with you on that and other issues. What would you say is your number one topic, issue, concern, passion? Number one.
I mean, probably, I really like the opportunity to work with the volunteer coordinator at the department. I think she's been, she's I think, a year or so in. I think that she's done a lot of good work with the newsletters that she sent out, and she's trying really hard to provide incentives for the volunteers, and not just incentives, but I think one of the first things she said, or somebody said, was volunteers have to pay for their own supplies to work in the shelters, and I don't think that that's appropriate. If they're going to give up their time and dedicate their passion, that we should be able to provide supplies for them to work directly with the animals.
Good. Well, I look forward to working with you on that and other issues.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And a couple other things. One, just a thought. I get a lot of complaints from some folks in the animal welfare world about our having a no-kill goal, and that we announce that we're close to it, or for a while we're over it, and that people will think that everything's cruising along and it's easy, whereas it's sort of an ongoing battle that I think we'll have to fight. The moment we ease up, we'll be back below it. So how do we get the word out that we're striving for no-kill at some point when we continually are no-kill? Because it doesn't just mean everything's easy, don't worry about animals, don't worry about spaying and neutering, everything's fine.
I think that's a hard question. I think the other thing and this came up yesterday in public comment, that yes, our goal is no kill, but our goal is also the humane treatment of animals. And so I think that also has to be, publicized equally as much when we're talking about no kill. I know that the department just had a very successful Clear the Shelters weekend, and I asked specifically yesterday, how did it compare to other Clear the Shelter weekends? And I actually think it was up about 100 animals. And so who knows why, right? It's just the season of why people are looking to adopt at that time or not. But I know that the department has put a lot. I think that the public-facing part of the department, whether it's on KTLA or the other news programs, is very helpful, and the social media. I mean, I think people are overwhelmed by emails and technology. I mean, personally, if you want me to respond to something, you better text me, so instead of email me. So I'm also, wondering if there's other opportunities. We've talked a lot about the website. Sometimes things on the website have been out of date, and commissioners have pushed really hard to get things up to date. I think.
How's that effort going?
I think that the department is responding. I mean, I know that they take copious notes when we have commission meetings, and they do report back on things. I mean, nothing is ever 100% perfect, but working really hard to get the information. I think, I don't know how many people look at websites. And the other thing we talked about, not everybody in Los Angeles has access to a personal computer.
Right.
Some people access computers or technology just on a phone. Some people access things through the public library. So making sure that the pages that you can see on the websites can also be shown on tablets or phones if you don't have, a computer at your office or your place of residence.
And we did better this time, and I don't really believe in coincidences. I don't think it's just accidental. So we should try and figure out what we did better and generated more success.
Sure. Like why this weekend as opposed to others?
I don't know if we got more TV time.
I don't know. The department would know that better than I would.
It seems like we did reasonably well in that arena, so I don't know if we did better in that arena. But we are doing better. We should figure out what the pieces are so it's easier to replicate. One other question: how do we feel about the department's budget? Are they still staffed up enough?
Sure.
I feel like there's still some shortages.
Yes, I think from a personnel standpoint, there is always a need for more personnel in the shelters and on the streets working with the animals. And I know we did get a report at one point on the vacancies at the different shelters and in the department, and I think as a commission, we need to ask for that on a more regular basis.
Very good. Any other questions, Mr. Price? Well, if not, we thank you for your service, and we will approve the mayor's appointment without objection.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item number 4.
Item 4, Department of Animal Services report in response to motion Koretz-O'Farrell relative to instructing the Department of Animal Services to report in regard to specialized facilities and services provided to animals besides cats and dogs housed at the city's animal shelters and related matters.
Good morning. Tammy
Good morning.
Watson, Department of Animal Services. The department provides the same level of care for housing for our other animals as we do for the dogs and cats. We purchase appropriate housing where necessary, and we also have specialized mobile pet adoptions and advertising and marketing for our pocket pets and other animals other than our dogs and cats. Some of the things
Pocket pets,
pocket pets.
is how you describe it?
They have the general category of pocket pets, but that would be our hamsters.
Okay.
We also have rabbits. We have reptiles.
Yeah, anything you put in the pocket, huh?
Yeah, kind of small. Put it in your pocket.
All right.
But we do take care to provide the necessary facilities and services for them. And we also promote them just as we would our companion animals. For example, we have rabbit rooms at each of our shelters, and then we have signs in all of our lobbies directing our customers to our rabbit rooms. We also have our volunteers. Oftentimes, they're walking through the lobbies with a reptile, advertising, offering them customers to interact with them, and then directing them to the facility, the area in the facility where they're housed. So we do try to promote them and get them adopted just like we would our regular dogs and cats.
Now, do you know why this report, which is pretty short, took 2 years to produce?
I don't know specifically, but I can guess at that. I think it fell off the radar, and actually through our PAW agenda setting, we were reminded of this report, and then that's when we began working on it. But I can't say how it fell off the radar in the beginning. That was prior to my appointment.
I mean, it's been so long that I can't remember which shelter it was, but I think part of what generated this report was a visit that I took in a walkthrough at a shelter. And this particular shelter had a rabbit section rather than a rabbit room, which I've seen at some shelters and are much better set up.
How large is the room that you've seen? I mean, like a closet or?
No, it's more substantial. The rabbit room at was it West LA that I saw is pretty good size, not inappropriate. But the one I saw, and honestly I don't remember which one. It was close to the dogs, so they could hear barking dogs. There were some hanging dividers to separate the section, but they actually hid rabbits in cages, and if you were just walking through and weren't looking for rabbits, you would never see them. So you wouldn't say, oh, look at all those cute rabbits, maybe I'll get one. You just wouldn't have any idea it was there. And I wanted to be sure that had been corrected. That was what generated the concern in the first place.
It has been corrected because all of our services centers have rabbit rooms now, and then we also have the advertisement in the lobbies to direct our customers to the rabbit room.
Very good, because that's one of the things I was hoping we would be sure we did successfully.
And as far as our report backs, we also have a system in place now that we're tracking them so that we can report back in a timely manner.
Do we know how the adoptions go with rabbits? Do we adopt out many rabbits?
Well, first of all, our rabbit intake is increasing, but we are increasing our rabbit adoptions. For example, at Clear to Shelter, we were able to adopt 8 rabbits for that one-day event. For the month of July, we were able to adopt 85 rabbits.
That's actually a pretty good number.
Yes.
I'm surprised.
I was pleased by that, too.
How do we do with all the other small animals? I mean, do we actually get people adopting rats and mice and little iguanas or whatever we have?
We do, but
Pocket pets.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't have the numbers in front of me. It's interesting because a city employee contacted me for a guinea pig. So we do get them adopted. It's just that I don't have those numbers in front of me, but we are starting to track our non-dogs, cats, and rabbits by type. So we'll start having those statistics.
Do we ever make any effort to market the littlest of our animals?
When we have mobile pet adoptions or different events, we take them to the events. We did an event not too long ago at Sherman Oaks Subaru, and we took some of those pets to those adoption events, hoping to get them adopted.
Very good. Mr. Price?
Yes, thank you again for your service and efforts. Did I hear you say we have reptile rooms at all the locations?
Rabbit rooms. At
Oh,
all
rabbit rooms,
locations,
okay,
But
yeah.
we do have reptiles as well.
I do. I'm just looking here at South LA. I said we don't have a reptile room there, but that's fine. Talk a little bit about the website. It was a question I was asking the commissioner. What's your take on the website, good, bad, and ugly?
Okay.
And what can we look forward to in the future?
I think we all in our department can admit that our website can use some updating. And so we're working towards that. As we're in the process of reviewing submissions for RFP because we're trying to get a contract so that we can include a website update. So build us an entire new website based on our marketing and our branding. So we're in the process of that now. We've already had evaluators review the submissions, and then the next step would be for us to hold interviews for the top candidates, the top contractors, I'm sorry. But what we're doing in the meantime, anytime we can do some minor updates, we're asking our IT system to go in and make those changes. And then I think there was a comment, sometimes we have outdated information. When we become aware of that, we immediately make those changes and update that. So we're trying to use that as a stopgap until we can get a full website developed and implemented.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
And one other question about our equine stalls, which are in a couple of the shelters. So where do we wind up with most of our horses? Are they horses that escape in fires? Are they owner turn-ins? Do we ever wind up with stray horses?
Occasionally we do, and most times they're in our West Valley Services Center.
The stray horses?
Oh, the stray horses? Well, if we cannot locate the owner, then we do take them into our services center.
Okay. All right, well, thank you. And we have two speakers from the public, Lisa Edmiston, to be followed by Michelle Kelly. You just have a minute and so. I'm a little more flexible than my colleagues, so if you're at a minute, you can finish your thought.
Good morning. I'm Lisa Edmondson. I live in Palms, 90034, and I'm an aged-out, long-time rabbit volunteer at the South LA Animal Services Center when it was on 11th Street. And it seems like only yesterday, but it was probably 2008 when I was sitting here with project manager Linda Gordon, and we were having a polite, spirited discussion about the new shelters that were being built and what the rabbit rooms would look like. And who am I? Just a schlepper to the South Shelter, with a bunch of bunny poop stuck to my shoes. And she said that she had consulted the Kansas State School of Veterinary Medicine for what the rabbit areas would look like. And who am I to argue about that? But I should have, because we have Western here and we have Davis that would be more in tune with the sophisticated urban rabbits that we have in LA. Well, the end of the short story is that after the shelters were built, all of the rabbit rooms, except for the New South, which was the last one built, had to be remodeled because they were maybe Kansas State standards, but they certainly weren't Los Angeles standards. And so I want to commend LA Animal Services for supporting volunteers and for making changes that we had begged for, so that finally the rabbit areas are up to our bunny standards. Thank you.
So you're happier with them now?
Oh, it's a big. I also volunteered at the Harbor Shelter. With another group of volunteers. Of course, I don't want to sound like I need a halo or something, But
Well, it sounds like you deserve one.
thank you. I'll take it. Yes, I mean there was, at Harbor there was this ginormous reptile room, as a matter of fact, that was built for Maybe that's how Kansas State does it. And there was a little tiny rabbit room. There were no sinks in the rooms, and there was some kind of a creative where you could just pour water on the floor, and there were drains along the side of the room, which got clogged very quickly. And also, when there was a rapid overflow at Harbor, the rabbits went in with the snakes. Well,
Doesn't sound like a good combination. but
the thing
I'll have to apologize, but your time is now up.
Okay.
So
Thank
you very much
thank
for
you
your
very much.
feedback.
And I thank LA Animal Services, for all they have done for the bunnies, because it's really been night and day with the general manager,
Right.
Barnett. Thank you.
Thank you. Michelle Kelly?
Michelle Kelly. I'm the head of Los Angeles Rabbit Foundation that works very closely with the LA Animal Services. In fact, we spend tens of thousands of dollars on vet care for rabbits that are in the shelters. I've also been volunteering with LA Animal Services for over 20 years, and I have seen dramatic improvements in how the rabbits are housed and treated. The shelter you were referring to is North Central, and the conditions were indeed inhumane at the time, and they have been redressed, and now North Central's in construction, so all the rabbits are now indoors and air-conditioned. And dramatic improvement, and yes, we do have General Manager Barnett to thank for this, because it didn't happen until she came along. And also we have a phenomenal volunteer head who's working with me to increase the number of rabbit volunteers. So we're definitely doing much, much better for our small mammals. I think one of our issues we have been facing has been a lack of spay-neuter veterinarians. So we need to increase the voucher amount for spay-neuter. Thank you.
And that's
very
the
much.
problem, not just for rabbits, I presume, but for overall in the shelters. That,
The thing is that rabbits require special veterinarians. So you can have a list, we have a list of veterinarians that take the vouchers, but not all of them are going to have an acceptable mortality rate with rabbits, or not all of them will do rabbits. So it's a serious problem with rabbits now. And we're trying to address it, but the vets lose too much money with the amount that we're reimbursing them now. So that's the issue.
so I'll ask the department to take a look at that and
Yeah, they're
get back to
aware.
us with some feedback on how we can improve that. Thank you very much. And I'll ask that we note and file this report without objection. Hearing none, that is noted and filed. Is there anything left before us?
No, sir.
So we are adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank you.